This podcast may contain adult language, adult situations, spoilers, and some brief nudity, so parental guidance is suggested.
We have such sights to show you.
After about 5 minutes of this movie, you're gonna wish you had 10 beers.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
Welcome back to the Cinema Recall Podcast.
It happens.
Come to me.
Before your eyes. And inside your head.
They can program you. They can play you like a videotape recorder.
You let me watch it?
Videodrome. First, it controls your mind. Then, it destroys your body. Videodrome, a terrifying new weapon. Rated R.
Now playing at Hollywood Pacific and Pacific's Pickwood Theaters.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinema Recall Podcast show. I am the Vern. Joined with me, as always, is Ashley Urach. Hello, Ashley.
Why, hello, darling.
Why, hello, darling. Yes, your little Marsha right there. So if you clicked on the tab, you'll know that we are doing our episode all about David Cronenberg films, which I am labeling Flesh for February. But if you're a Patreon subscriber, you are getting these episodes way in advance. Again, that's patreon.com/cinemarecallpod. We're doing a whole bonus series of movies dedicated to director David Cronenberg, and this is the first one. If you're listening to this on the main feed, you're only going to be getting about the first 30 minutes of this conversation, so make sure that you sign on to Patreon to get the full episode. But then the full episode will come out to you in February for our Flesh for February season that's going to go on with this. Our special guest this week is Mr. Daniel Lackey, who hosts the show over at Rabbit Hole Podcast called Musically Ignorant. Hello, Mr. Lackey.
Ahoy, ahoy.
See,
that's way the wrong Simpsons character, and I apologize.
Yeah, you went crusty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
But Lackey has appeared, and I don't. Do you prefer Daniel or Lackey? I'm just.
You can call me Lackey.
Okay. Well,
It's an old thing that goes back to my old site. It really, I probably should have thought it through better, but Lackey will work.
Okay. Well, Mr. Lackey has appeared on other podcasts of Cinema Recall, including our episode on Josie and the Pussycats. So be sure to go seek that out. I think that's an Utter Number Season 4, I believe. So that's a good one. But tell everyone out there, Mr. Lackey, about Musically Ignorant.
So Musically Ignorant is a podcast where the fearless leader of Rabbit Hole Podcast, Jason Soto, and I basically play songs for each other that we think the other haven't heard.
Nice.
I have a fairly broad knowledge of obscure music, or sub-mainstream music. Plus, I'm a little bit older than Jason, and I also don't pay a whole lot of attention to modern pop music. So what we'll do, it's not really a game or anything like that, but I try to pick something that he thinks I haven't heard, he hasn't heard, and he picks something that he thinks I haven't heard. So I've picked stuff I picked stuff like The Pursuit of Happiness for him. What else? Jeff Buckley, Savages, and then he's picked Post Malone, Billie Eilish, and Ben Folds for me. So it's an interesting little thing, and I've been exposed to a lot of music that I otherwise hadn't heard. So it's a lot of fun for me.
Sweetness.
That sounds really, really interesting.
I gotta ask, what's going on in the background? I hear things being washed and.
Oh, can you hear that?
I can.
I may or may not be multitasking, but ADHD is kicked in.
Okay, that's fair.
I walked into the bathroom and I smelled the toilet bowl cleaner that I had put in there much earlier in the day. And so I was like, oh crap. So I was just scrubbing that really quick.
Okay, well, I like to know that you keep a clean house, Ashley. This is very important.
I don't keep a clean house. No, I try.
But the toilet bowl is clean.
I keep a... It sure is. It is now.
That's the most important thing right there. I mean...
Oh my gosh.
When you have guests come over, I mean, you never know. I mean, Lackey may show up there to, like, visit your home.
I know, and then he'll judge me by he'll be like, your kitchen is a disaster, but your toilet bowl is clean.
But, so there's two things about me that people who know me well know, which is, number one, I show up unannounced at the most inopportune times, and number two, I am hugely judgmental.
Oh, all right.
So
you sound like a hoot and a holler.
I like to think of myself. I strive to be the sort of person that if two people are talking about me behind my back, one person will say, "Oh, Lackey, Lackey. Well, that guy's a pip."
Well, that guy.
That guy.
No,
that
yeah.
guy.
Oh,
that guy.
Well, very cool. Well, Lackey, I'm grateful to have you on our episode here. Basically, yeah. So we're going to be talking about Videodrome, the films of David Cronenberg. But I have to ask you both, what is your familiarity with David Cronenberg?
No familiarity at all. Now you may go.
David Cronenberg is one of my favorite filmmakers. To the point where I'm pretty sure I've seen all of his features up to and including Fast Company, the movie he made about car racing. I want to say it was between The Brood and Scanners. No horror content at all, but I've even seen that. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. Videodrome is one of my favorite films by him. Okay. Probably my favorite. I think the only one I haven't seen by him is I've never seen Madame Butterfly, for whatever reason.
I forgot he did that one. Was Videodrome the first movie you saw from David Cronenberg, or?
I believe the first movie I saw by David Cronenberg was Shivers.
Okay.
They Came From Within. Was the title I saw it under. I taped it off of a late movie back in the early 90s when I was a teenager.
Okay.
So it was heavily censored, but I believe that was the first one I watched by him.
See, for me, it had to be The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. I'm sorry, you haven't seen The Fly yet, Ashley?
You know what? I have seen The Fly. I've seen that one.
Okay.
And I didn't say I didn't see any of it. It's just I'm not familiar. So I'm sure once you guys start talking about his movies, I'll be like, "Yep, I've seen that one. I've seen that one." You know me. I don't remember directors' names very well.
Another popular one that he did was A History of Violence.
Ooh.
With Viggo Mortensen. That was probably, I think The Fly and A History of Violence and maybe Eastern Promises are probably the three that most people would probably recognize if they're maybe Scanners, but they probably recognize Scanners just mainly for the scene of the head exploding, and that's really it, and that's all I kind of remember from Scanners.
I think I don't know if many people associate it with him today, but Dead Ringers I always thought was the one that would be considered like the most mainstream and other than The Fly.
Okay.
Would be considered to be his most mainstream, because that was the one I think that was the most acclaimed one that actually got like Oscar nominations and stuff.
Oh sure, okay, that's fair. But yeah, and I also remember Crash, like probably The Fly and Crash, because Crash you couldn't really find it at most stores, and like some stores had the NC-17 cut, but most other stores had the R-rated cut. So I remember that one. But we're going to go through each of his movies in much more detail. But for this episode, we are talking about Videodrome. And I will have you, Lackey, tell me when you first saw this movie.
I believe I first saw this movie I was probably about 18 or 19 at the time. And I just kind of sprung it on my dad. My dad was the one who got me into like science fiction and horror movies. And I think my dad and I were having a movie night. And I think I just picked up Videodrome and I said, I've heard this one's cool. You want to watch this? And my dad was like, yeah. And I think that was the first time I saw it. So that would have been, I think, 92. So I probably would have been about 17, 18, 19, somewhere in there.
Oh, damn. All right. So I know that I saw this for the first time probably, I know it was on video cassette when I first saw it, and I think I was like too young to watch it, and I do not remember most of it. It wasn't until Criterion released their Blu-ray of it that I was able to actually watch it for the first time. And for those who are just turning in, don't know what Videodrome is about, I'm going to really quickly explain what this is. And I wrote this down myself, so you have to tell me if I do a good job describing this movie, okay, Jane?
All right.
All right. So,
sure.
Matt Wren, played by James Woods, is a low-grade TV producer who specializes in softcore rock fantasies and violence programming for his TV station, Civic TV. When he comes across satellite transmissions of a new show called Videodrome, he becomes obsessed with finding who is behind it. Videodrome itself involves people being whipped and tortured while inside this red clay room, which is electric. While investigating the origins of Videodrome, Matt becomes sexually involved with DJ host Nikki Brand, played by Deborah Harry, who wants to be in the show. She auditions but never returns. One of Matt's clients, Marcia, warns Matt to stay away because the actions of Videodrome go much further and that it's a political movement. After watching Videodrome, Matt begins to hallucinate and his body begins to change. Vaginal slits appear in his stomach and weapons start to form within his body. We find out that there is a competitor who wants to use Matt as a weapon to take out other people from his network and are using Videodrome to brainwash Matt into doing what they want. Will Matt break free of Videodrome's transmissions, or will he be submitted to them? Is that right or wrong?
I gotta tell you, it sounds right, and that's just based on the synopsis I read myself. In fact, your synopsis is way more detailed and made that movie sound more interesting than what I had read.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but that's
you did a great job.
Thank you. That's kind of
you were right.
Kind of the idea about Videodrome, but there's so much more themes to get into this movie. I'll ask you, Lackey, since you are a big component. This is your favorite film from David Cronenberg. What is it about this movie that you really like?
What I really like about this is I like how thoughtful it is. It really, and how, number one, how thoughtful it is, how it really kind of thinks about and discusses like the role of television in society. It's sort of weird thinking about it. I was thinking about it actually when I was my most recent viewing of the film, how kind of at the time, this film is from like, I think 83.
Yep,
82,
yep.
83, somewhere in there. And how like a lot of like thinkers like considered TV to basically be this intellectual wasteland that sort of kind of like, you know, not physically, but sort of like almost sort of like psychically lobotomized people, you know, and you know, and that, you know, it would I'm trying to really kind of put this into words here, how it sort of like fostered conformity in people and addicted people. There's a lot of like, you know, there was a band. God, there was an hip hop, Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy. Did a song called, in like the early 90s, called Television, the Drug of a Nation. It was like a minor alt-rock hit. And that was kind of like the feeling about what television was. It was like this sort of, like I said, intellectual wasteland that sort of just didn't have a whole lot of cultural value. And I find it bizarre that we've gotten to the point now where TV is actually like considered to be almost in many ways a higher medium than cinema. That cinema is actually actively trying to make, with the MCU, trying to make itself more like television now, with running themes and so forth. And that kind of like this sort of intellectual wasteland has sort of, not that there isn't stuff on TV I'm thinking of like the 24-hour news cycle, which I consider to be the absolute worst thing that's happened to our culture, to Western civilization. But how this has sort of been like the sort of intellectually devoid medium is kind of now been replaced by the internet with its conspiracy theories and QAnon and all that. So I think it's very, almost like prophetic.
Sure.
I think that's the thing that and if I may have just crawled, intellectually speaking, too far up my own ass there, but that's sort of what I really do like about it. Is it really kind of ponders, is it a good thing to have, this sort of font of, I mean, commoditized, stylized, and fake, but violent or sexual content in your home, online, 24 hours a day. Is that really like a healthy thing? What does that do to our minds? What does it do to our emotional states? What's that do to society? And I'm not one of these people, I'm not going to say, watching movies like, Natural Born Killers makes people go out and kill people any more than I'm going to blame Grand Theft Auto to an extent. But I do feel that just kind of exposing oneself, even if it's fake violence, to just constant fake violence and not having any context for it, I think that is going to be detrimental on a person's emotional state. I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm going to get off my soapbox.
And I'm pretty sure... No, you're fine.
Scoot over. I'm getting up there.
Get up there now, Ashley. Yeah, let me get your thoughts about this.
Well, okay. So, same to what he said, when you have a perpetual amount of violence and sexual violence, or any type of that kind of content that either through a video game or TV shows or movies, it's kind of under the same vein of like positive self-talk or negative self-talk, right? So if you look at yourself every day and you're like, I feel great and I'm going to do great, like your brain gets wired to be positive. Just like people who live in a constant state of negativity, their brain is wired to be negative. And it takes a lot of effort to turn that around. And I think when you are constantly bombarded with negative imagery, that kind of... are you still there?
Oh, I'm here.
I am.
There you are.
I'm muting myself because I've got I got lawnmower runs. I don't know if we can hear that.
Oh, no, I couldn't.
Okay.
It just made me think that I lost you.
Oh, no, sorry.
When you have that constant bombardment of negativity and violence and all of those things, it rewires your brain, and you either seek it out or you're just desensitized to it. And then when you see and hear about all these horrible things, it either doesn't really affect you or it makes it easier to do said things because your brain has been rewired to think that that's acceptable.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure people who actually, experience violence in the real world will probably experience violence on TV much more differently. I know there is a friend of mine, he had one of his nephews go through some intense training in the military to the point where if he sees any type of certain violence on screen, he'll just can't do it.
Breaks down.
Breaks down right there, and I can totally get that. What's kind of fascinating about James Wood's character of Matt Wren is that he feels that he's just doing a service to people. He's saying that, well, I'm using an outlet for their darkest fantasies, and I feel like I'm doing an actual good thing, and he doesn't really think anything bad of it. Because before he gets the transmissions of Videodrome, I mean, this guy is getting softcore eroticism from Japan and other places just to try to feed that need. And when he comes across Videodrome, he's like, "This is great because it's super cheap to produce." That was the main thing about Videodrome, is that it's cheap to produce. Right. All it is just torture and murder inside this room. It's like there's no opposite of this. Right. It'll be really cheap to do, and it can be submitted out to everywhere. And it's only when he starts seeing more of that transmission and getting used to the violence, that's where his hallucinations take control. He starts to see videotapes move and breathe by itself. His television starts to come to life, and all the interactions that he's having with the so-called equipment kind of reminds me of the interactions we have with our equipment. There's that one key scene where Nikki Brand appears on his television screen and says, "Come to me, come to Nikki," and the TV itself starts to move and it starts to become real with like veins on it when he touches it. Yeah. And he starts to like make out with the TV. And it just sort of reminded me of how people are on their phones and can, sext with other people, or even people who like watch like chat rooms of like models of like Pornhub and whatnot. I mean, people are basically kind of having sets and having all these interactions with a digital image. And I'm sure it won't be long before they put like little slits in our computer screen so we can fuck that and have guys sperm. Basically, you can go to a sperm bank just right there in your computer.
Interesting.
I'm sure something like that will happen. Yeah, I worked on one quote that a character says in this, which I found to be kind of like fascinating. So there's a character called Brian Oblivion, and Matt first meets him at this television talk show, and he appears on television, only on television. All right, and then later on, he gets a videotape from Oblivion, and Oblivion has this quote, and I wrote this down. It says, "Television is the retina of the mind's eye. Therefore, the television screen is the physical structure of the brain." And throughout the 90s and later on there, reality TV started to become like a big thing. We're starting to see people's real lives and start to come to our home. And later on, he says, whatever appears on the television screen becomes raw data for those who watch it. So what we're seeing, all the reality we're seeing, especially now with our phones, we're seeing much more of people's real lives on the phone than it was before. So yeah, our phone has become like our second eye. So
right.
And last point says, therefore, television is reality, and reality is less than television. And this came out in '83, which I found to be kind of fascinating. I feel like David Cronenberg was sort of like tapping into like the future of how people were going to be using television
technology.
And even though this is like all analog before digital, it's sort of like prefaced what was to come later on. I don't know, Lackey, feedback at all on that, or?
I mean, definitely there's anachronisms in there. There's a concept called, which Brian Oblivion establishes in the movie, called the cathode ray mission. And this goes back to when TVs were tube TVs, cathode ray tubes, and were analog as opposed to the LCD screens we have now. It's watching this today. I constantly found myself thinking of social media. It's still a screen that you look at. It's your phone screen or your computer monitor, your iMac or whatever that you're looking at, or maybe you are looking at on. Maybe you're streaming YouTube or you've got it
TV,
to your television. But the point is that these screens, in far from having, these screens now have an even more omnipresent presence in our lives. I mean, television is it may not necessarily be television per se anymore, but streaming all this data is even more it's more omnipresent in our lives because in 1983 you could have a TV in every room of your house, but you couldn't stick a TV in your pocket and take it
Correct.
with you and watch TV on the bus while you're riding to work.
That would hurt.
You couldn't. That would
hurt really bad. My legs are not that strong. I cannot put a whole TV in my pants.
I don't think I don't think it would fit in the pocket. Even the portable TVs just had these. I remember my dad had this portable little LCD TV and it had this tiny 5-inch screen or whatever.
Someone called me and then I lost you. You were the last thing I heard was that you can't. That would hurt to have a TV in your pants. To which I was going to say, that's what cargo shorts are for, you idiot.
But now you have this machine, which is just basically a television that you can put in your pants pocket, and you can watch TV while you're going to while you're riding on the bus to work, or
or driving,
riding in a car somewhere.
I kid.
How often are you on your phone, Ashley? Because I'm on my phone basically a lot of times. I feel like my phone needs to be surgically implanted
Removed
in my hand.
from your... Yeah, or removed, right?
Yeah.
I would say I'm on my phone all day because when I'm not looking at it, I'm streaming music.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think if I were to look at what I spend the majority of my time doing on my phone, a lot of it is I think it's like 20% social media, but I think it's well over 30% streaming music.
Sure.
So
yeah, I'm on there too. There. Pause 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Hold on, guys. I'm in the middle of the show. What's going? Okay. Do you want to take it out of there? I would not take my laundry out of the machine. Sorry about that, guys. Sweetness.
That's okay.
No, I miss it. No, I totally miss what you guys just talked about.
Oh, nothing. We were waiting for you.
Okay, sorry.
You said hold on, so we held.
You did held good. So, what do we think about the cast in this movie? I'll start with you, Ashley.
Well, I really like James Woods. He always kind of comes off as a bit creepy to me, and that he's always kind of sleazy. And so, which I'm sure he's a perfectly almost normal person, for as normal as you can be in Hollywood, right? And then
he's kind of turned out to be an asshole.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. In the more recent,
yeah,
that's true.
Well,
and then
even at the time, I remember that. I mean, it's 80s, it's Hollywood. If you're going to go anywhere, then you got to have an element of sleaze.
Yeah.
Probably just did a lot of blow.
And
then Debbie Harry, right?
Yeah, but James Woods always seems to play like the same guy in every movie.
Right.
The only movie I've ever seen him after this was probably Casino and The Hard Way with Michael J. Fox, and he always just plays that very like egotistical kind of like schmo guy that's like just irritated by the way things are. And...
like he, even in Disney's Hercules, he plays. He's Hades.
Yeah, he's Hades.
So he totally plays that's his part, and he knows it.
But just kind of like, he just wants to have like one type of role, and then he's going to just keep doing that. But he does fine. He does fine whatever role he does. Like, all right, that's James Woods. He's not going to win any awards because he just plays the same character over and over again, and that's fine. But you're talking about Deborah Harry. This is her first action role she's ever done.
Oh, okay.
She's known mostly for being in the group Blondie. And this was her first role that she's ever done. She's acted at other movies, but I thought she did a good job. She plays a sadomasochist, radio host. Probably she hosts like this relationship advice show. I don't really understand why she... Well, I mean, I get why she wasn't doing a Videodrome because, hey, She needs to be whipped. She likes that. You know, I'm into another fellow sadomasochist right there. It's always nice to see another lady that likes a little bit of pain as well. But yeah, I don't know if I would go to the extremes that she did to take down the show. I mean, yeah, I like a good whipping now and then, like every decent American male does.
Like every red-blooded American man.
Red-blooded, that's right. I need my red meat, my cigarettes, and
and a rubber boot in my face.
And,
That's right.
A little flogging here and there never hurts, but yeah.
Did we lose Lackey?
Nope.
Oh no, there he is.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Those shows by Do We Lose You? Are you there? Who's there?
Hello?
Hello?
Who's this?
Who's this? Yes.
Are you there?
Oh.
Who is this? Hola. Hello.
¿Cómo está usted? Anyway.
That's all I know.
So you mentioned...
Yeah, that's all I know, too.
Nice.
Oh, and I know how to ask for a cold beer, which is useless because I don't drink beer.
Well, that's not helpful at all.
At least you don't ask one.
It is completely useless.
What's up, Vern?
So,
sorry, we got distracted.
That's all right. No, so Lackey, as you mentioned about James Woods, I talked a little bit about Deborah Harry. Those are kind of two main characters in this. There's also Jack Creeley, who plays Brian Oblivion. Sonia Smits, who plays his daughter Bianca Oblivion. There's the role of Marcia, who I had written down, but now I completely lost that because I am
Lynn Dorman.
Lynn Dorman.
I'm looking at this on Twitter on Wikipedia.
Okay, so she's the one.
Look
that
at you
kind
guys! Look at you guys on the ball.
Just
on
proving
the
the
ball.
entire point of the movie.
Well, you see?
Just on the internet.
Yeah.
As we speak.
As we do with this.
Facing a screen. How dare you?
But also, so I'll ask you just a little bit about who you think is, good in the cast. What do you think about Deborah Harry's performance in this? I think everyone serves the movie just fine. There's not one performance that really stands out. I think the only person that really stands out in this is the makeup effects by Rick Baker.
Yeah, this is not really like. Nobody does like a bad job in the film as a performer, and basically, I always got the impression it's James Woods just basically playing himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he's always good as basically a scumbag, but really visually, this is a very visual oriented film, and the makeup and the effects are paramount. Particularly Rick Baker is like one of the stars of the film.
Being the fact that everything had to be done with practical effects, the fact of that TV screen moving and pulsating like this, like living flesh, was very cool. The vaginal slit in James Woods' chest and that video cassette going inside there, there's something oddly erotic.
Spoiler alert! Dang.
No, just kidding. Let's put it like this. That's not even the weirdest thing that goes in the slit.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I've been there!
Yes.
Wait a minute. Sorry. Couldn't help myself.
But the way that Cronenberg infused this, because this other company that Matt Wren becomes involved with, they need to put this cassette tape inside him to rewire his brain. And you can sort of see this with like other companies sort of like inserting ad spots in their programming, saying like, here, come check our show out, because this is basically a story about two rival television corporations fighting for people to subscribe to their services. You got Civic TV that Matt works for, and then you have this other company, this Optical Illusions, which is a eyeglass company. They want to start taking control of the television arena. And it kind of reminds me of like AT&T kind of taking over Time Warner Cable to establish their dominance over the media, and how other companies sort of like want to take control of that, I wouldn't say control us, but yes, I'm going to say control us, kind of the same way that Disney does, and they're making making everything combined, and I don't know. I mean, I need someone else's to make what I'm saying make sense. So, Lackey, naturally, if you can help me organize my words.
It's basically about programming people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, the videotape has a program, and you have, Spectacular Optical or whatever the company's called, basically wanting to take over Max's Civic TV. Yeah, Civic TV. The thing is that it's actually named after it's based on a real TV station in Toronto called City TV. And I always forget which one is the fictional one and which one is the real one. And City TV actually did run softcore off hours in Toronto back in the 70s and 80s. On broadcast airwaves. But
that's insane.
It's all about programming. It's all about the television telling you what to do and how to do it. That's the way I interpret it. I mean, it's the metaphor. I mean, sticking a Betamax tape into a slit in your gut is a metaphor, but only vaguely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I can almost imagine if this was a real program now, the way that social media also helps influence what we watch and don't watch is very interesting, because I can imagine if this came out today in the realm of social media, many people will say, well, that's fake. That's obviously fake. That's not a real thing, when it actually is real violence. And people were saying a lot of real violent things were fake. I looked at the Sandy Hook shootings. People were saying, well, that was staged. Or even a lot of the police attacks, people were saying that was fake, and no policeman ever killed anyone before, and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, or, the Holocaust being fake.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Mm-hmm. Yes. Ridiculous.
So it's just kind of very cool. I imagine why this movie wasn't a big success. Now, this was the very first studio film from David Cronenberg, because at the time this was made before Scanners, and Scanners put on a very
Scanners.
Yeah, it's after Scanners, so it made a modestly. Scanners did modestly well at the box office, nothing major, and I think it was between this and The Brood and Rapid. Because I know Shivers came first, then it was The Brood, and then
Shivers.
Rapid.
It's. I know this by heart, so I'm not trying to upset.
No, please do.
It's Shivers was first, then Rabid, then Fast Company, which everybody forgets about, then The Brood, then Scanners, then Videodrome.
Okay, but I knew it was based on the performances of The Brood and Scanners that Universal was like, you know what, we'll make a movie with you, and it sort of it was this pretty big budget movie at the time. And didn't do that well, because it's really hard to sort of market this movie for a general audience. I can imagine that.
And to think this is the movie he made instead of going off to direct Return of the Jedi for Lucas.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a left turn.
Very much so. Andy Warhol called this Videodrome a Clockwork Orange of the 80s, which is
pretty much.
Yeah, I can sort of see that right there.
Sounds right.
The character of Barry Confitz, who works for the that live place. Help me out, Lackey. Spectacular
Optical.
Spectacular Optical was inspired by televangelist Jim Baker.
Right. Sounds right.
So, if we do get the Criterion Blu-ray, there are some great special features about the making of the makeup effects, and that TV effect was pretty cool. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, and I should remember correctly because I have the Criterion Blu-ray, it's one of two Criterion releases I own. The other one is Chaplin's Modern Times. But there's also a great kind of roundtable on there of it's moderated by a very young Mick Garris, who at that time I think was just kind of like an intern or something at Universal, and it's a roundtable with him, Cronenberg, John Carpenter, and John Landis.
Yep.
Talking about horror.
At the kind of the start of their career, which is actually really cool. Yeah, I feel like there's something else I'm not mentioning with this movie that I'm forgetting about, but I think we kind of said the main themes that I wanted to discuss about with the show is that how this movie basically has influenced our kind of social media today in ways, which I found to be kind of fascinating, the fact that we're using our TV screen all the time. So yes, the TV screen has become sort of a retina of the mind's eye because we are constantly using our phone and we're showing people images on our phone. We're no longer be able to like tell people things that happen. We now can just show them things that happen. We can record things on our phone and send them to people. Because before, when things happened to us, we had to remember that and then tell a story about what happened. But
Right.
nowadays, we can just, well, here's what happened to me, and then just show you right there.
Right.
Pictures where it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. You see?
Yeah, pics or it didn't happen. You got that right.
But I found this to be kind of still fascinating. I think the makeup effects still hold up today. Does anyone have like maybe a favorite moment of this movie that they think really stands out? If you had to show this movie to somebody as sort of like, here, watch this, and maybe you'll get like an idea about what this movie is about.
I would basically show them the scene where James Wood sticks the gun in the slit in his stomach, and I would say, here you go. This is this movie in a nutshell. If this doesn't completely and utterly repulse you, you want to sit and watch this film.
All right. Yeah.
Oh my.
I don't know. Ashley, do you have one?
I don't.
Okay.
It was just weird. It was all the way through. I was like, well, okay. Yeah. Nope. I don't have a favorite moment for sure. Sorry.
Like,
Hate to disappoint you.
What the fuck did Vern have you watch?
Dude, it was like watching Brand New Cherry Flavor all over again.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can sort of see the similarities with that a little bit there. A lot of the body
just
horror
some of the
elements.
practical effects and the weird situations and like how it was like you don't know if they're hallucinating or wild.
I've got two scenes that I really like. One scene is where I mentioned before where Matt is making out with his TV and like the TV starts to have like lips. And
Ew.
when it becomes like flesh and everything, yeah, I thought that was like just from the practical effects style of that, like how much work it had to have happened because there had to be like this screen with like rubber that you had to like you had to actually insert an image onto this tape of like rubber and how difficult that would have been to project this on film and made it seem seamless. So I thought the whole sequence was good between all the editing and the practical effects. And then there's one sequence where his, I guess his secretary comes by to drop off some stuff, and Matt slaps her once, and she becomes Nikki, and he slaps her again, she goes back to being the secretary, and Matt says, "I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me, I didn't mean to slap you." And she's like, "You didn't slap me. That didn't happen at all." Seeing that statement reminded me of another movie, and if you enjoyed Videodrome out there, I'll ask any of you if you have seen the movie Perfect Blue.
No, I nearly did actually watch it this spooky season because I noticed it's on Shudder.
Yeah.
But I did not get around to it. And in fact, I was just thinking, maybe, because I don't think I have anything going on after this podcast, maybe I was going to throw something on Shudder.
Perfect Blue is very kind of disturbed in the same way as this one is. And while watching Perfect Blue, you have no idea of what reality what's the dream or what's the movie that's being filmed that the character's in. That's all I'm going to say. It just keeps going back and forth where you're not quite sure if she's waking up from a dream or if she's still on set or if this is real life or not.
Interesting. All right.
Without giving spoilers away, the movie is about Perfect Blue. It's about this pop singer who's tired of being a pop singer. She wants to be taken seriously as an actor, and she gets a role in this very I would say very intense, mature adult drama. Imagine someone, imagine like a Britney Spears, being put into a Red Shoe Diaries type of role. Something that's way too advanced.
So it's kind of like the singer from Blondie being cast in a horror movie about television.
Yes, very much. Yes. All the conditions there, yes.
That sounds right.
But Blondie is very much a punk rock outfit. They're not really...
Yeah,
I
always forget because I didn't find out that Blondie came up through the New York punk scene. I didn't find that out till much later. I first heard of them with Hearted Glass, so I always thought of them as a more mainstream pop band.
Sure, okay, I can see that.
But sometimes you have to, consciously remind myself, oh no, they actually came up. They came up through. They played CBGBs, and they came up in the same scene that was Talking Heads and Television and Ramones and all that.
Yeah, very well there.
Fellas.
Yes.
I gotta go.
Okay, well, Ashley, Ashley, before you go, give us your rating on Videodrome. Out of 5 Teleranger TVs, what would you give this? Or no. Out of 5 vaginal slits in your stomach.
Ooh, I will give it 3.5.
Okay.
3.5 vaginal slits.
All right. Do you have anything to plug before you go, Ashley?
I don't.
Okay.
I have to go to the bathroom, so I don't got a lot to say. I have to go. I gotta go.
Okay.
I gotta go. It's a bathroom emergency.
Okay.
So nice talking to you, boys.
Talk to you later, Ashley.
Okay,
later,
bye.
Ashley.
Bye.
So, Lackey.
Yes.
What do you have coming up on Musically Ignorant? Before I do that, I'm being a bad host. What would you give Videodrome out of 5 vaginal slits?
I would give it 5 vaginal slits, the full 5, one of which has a gun in it.
Okay, nice. Any closing thoughts about Videodrome before we end up this conversation?
Not really, no.
Okay. I will say this, if you're into practical effects, if you like movies that are a little bit strange and different and you can see things that are not normally seen, go check this out because you're definitely going to get experience you have never seen before. So I will also give it, I don't want to be as high as 5, but I'll give it 4.5 vaginal slits with just the tip of the gun.
Just the tip of the gun.
Just the tip, baby.
It's just the tip. It's because it's just the tip Tuesday.
Yes, sure, just tip Tuesday.
If you've ever seen Bad Milo, you get that joke.
So, before we do go, Mr. Lackey, tell me, or tell everyone out there what's going on with Musically Ignorant.
Musically Ignorant. What? I don't remember the last. See, we didn't do Musically Ignorant last week because the Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who finale aired. So Jason and I decided at the last minute to kind of scrap Musically Ignorant for that week and do Bring Back from Inner Time instead, which is, like I said, the first time we've done it in 9 months. Mm-hmm. But the last time we did Musically Ignorant, the songs were The Pioneers by Block Party and Bury a Friend by Billie Eilish.
I listened to that one. That was good.
And I'm kind of thinking I know what my next song is going to be for Musically Ignorant, but we don't spring it on each other until we record it. So I'm keeping it a secret.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing more of that. As you can tell right now, for probably the month of November, we're doing like these bonus episodes talking about the films of David Cronenberg. Our next ones will be with the hosts of the Science Fiction Remnant podcast, Roberto and Giancarlo, talking about Existence, the 1999, basically David Cronenberg's version of The Matrix, is all I'm going to say right there for Existence, and we'll talk about more of that on that episode. As far as our main shows, I'm not really quite sure, but if you do send them to our Patreon page, that's when you're going to be getting most of our episodes is on there. Of course, go to our website, cinemarecall.net. You can listen to us every Sunday on Full Swap Radio's Vanilla Sunday, 8:30. That is going to kind of wrap up this quick discussion on Videodrome. My special thanks to my guest, Mr. Daniel Lackey. Thank you, Mr. Lackey.
Thank you for having me on, Vern.
Would you come on again?
I would come back. I would come back again in a minute. I love coming on and talking movies with you.
Yay! I'm hoping. Do you guys ever have guests on Musical Ignorance?
We've considered it. We haven't done it yet, but we've considered it.
Okay, because Ashley would be a great guest for that episode because she's way more into music than I am, and she knows more about that than I do. Especially
How
when it
could
comes
you be more into music? You're a drummer, for crying out loud.
I know. That's weird. Isn't that weird? Yeah, that's very weird. Yeah, I know. I don't say. Oh, yes. I spend most of my time like watching movies than I do listening to music. I listen to music here and there. But I liked your show because I get exposed to new songs and things that I never thought about before. So, yay. Before I do go, I want to give a special shout out right now to all of our wonderful Patreon supporters. So no special order. I should do this before we wrap up the show because these people help pay us money, and I appreciate that very much. So shout right now to Mr. Jason Soto from Rabbit Hole Podcast. Thank you, Jason.
My boss.
Yes,
my boss.
I'll mention the two at the end. So thank you, Jason. I want to thank Chris Revel of Let's Chat with Chris Revel. Thank you, Chris. I want to thank Donnie Roberts, who wrote the Deep Sea Anthologies. He's going to be appearing on bonus episodes of ours. So thank you, Donnie Roberts. Linda Castro from Bed Knobs and Broomflits. Thank you very much, Linda. Matt and Ashley from Mashley at the Movies. Thank you very much. I want to thank Jeanette Mickenham from AKA Jeanette. Thank you, Jeanette. I want to thank Harvey Andros from our band that me and Ashley are in, Your Ex-Girlfriend. And lastly, I want to thank Jen, Lydia, and Naomi from Shocked and Applaud. Thank you very much for being a supporter of us. Really appreciate that. Also, be sure to check out the monthly Twin Peaks podcast that me and my co-host Ryan Luis Rodriguez, with voice work by Ashley Urach, who just left. Our show is called Tales from the Double R, a Twin Peaks podcast, found at Rabbit Hole Podcast every month. I think that's it. Your cat really loves our shows, so I appreciate that support. Yes. All right. But that's it. That's it, everyone. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
Videodrome is a bioelectronic addiction. Videodrome is the ultimate addiction. Videodrome will shatter your reality. Television can change your mind. Videodrome will change your body. Experience Videodrome.
Videodrome.
You're all set.
And I swear to God, if it freaking cuts out again, I'm gonna punch in the face.
Oh shoot! I'll be sure
How dare you?
Part out. We don't want to punch anyone in the face there just yet. They may stop this broadcast.
Oh my god. You're not recording already, are you?
Well, I'm recording now. It's fine.
Oh yeah. Well, delete it.
We'll change that.
Whatever. Just like when I called my kids bitches the other day. I hope you deleted that when you edited it.
Do they listen to the podcast? I don't think so.
My kids are 15 and 10. In no way should I be calling them bitches, but damn, they were really being some bitches. They were. They were being terrible.
Sometimes kids will do that sometimes, and maybe they need to hear that so they'll stop being little bitches all the time, all right? No. But anyways, give me a countdown, somebody.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.